Recent tensions between China and Taiwan are also having an impact on a somewhat hidden community, Southeast Asian migrant workers in Taiwan. According to official records, there's nearly 700,000 of them working on the self-governing islands. They work mostly in factories and as caregivers. But the uptick in tensions across the Taiwan Straits has left them worried for their future in the event of a dangerous escalation. DW correspondent Zachary Lee reports.
As a migrant worker in Taiwan, Wayu Saputra works hard to support his family back home in Indonesia. He's never been interested in politics, but the rising tensions between China and Taiwan have started to worry him.
My family in Indonesia is asking if it's still safe here and whether there'll be a conflict. If the worst happens, they've asked me to just come home.
Saputra and his colleagues now talk about Taiwan-China relations every day. After spending over 7 years in Taiwan, he could never have imagined needing to plan a wartime evacuation.
I'm worried about a war here, especially since the US did not intervene in the war in Ukraine. For now, I don't think the possibility of war is very high, but I haven't heard of any evacuation plan either.
Taiwan has nearly 700,000 migrant workers, mostly from Vietnam, Indonesia, and the Philippines. More than half of them working in manufacturing factories, others working as caregivers or nannies. Gilda Panungan is one of them. She left the Philippines to come to Taiwan in 2015 and now works as a domestic helper. Panungan also chairs a migrant workers' union and has found that worries about a possible Taiwan conflict are widespread in the Filipino community here.
It seems like if someday the surprise for the war, and we don't know where can we go, because in Taiwan also the problem here is for the language barrier for the migrants and the local. So yeah, we cannot guarantee ourselves here, but we try to comfort each other that we have to be prepared.
Panungan has readied her passport and personal document in case of an emergency evacuation. But like Saputra, she fervently hopes that the war won't break out here.
Hopefully there won't be a conflict and everyone stays safe. Right now we work safely and happily here.
Most migrant workers prefer to move to Taiwan due to better salaries here. Taiwan too depends heavily on them. But Saputra and other workers like him say that the war would upend all other considerations.
And joining me now for more from Perth in Australia is Ratika Binava. She's a doctoral student at the University of Western Australia, and her research looks at relations between Taiwan and Southeast Asian countries. Ms. Kabinava, welcome. Your research also looks at Southeast Asian migrant workers in Taiwan. And in a recent article, you were quoted as saying they are like, quote, orphans or second-class citizens in Taiwan. Why do you say that?
Yeah, because these migrant workers, I usually experience discriminations in their daily life, at their workplace, when they mingle with the Taiwanese society, and some of them are not covered under the Taiwan's Labor Standard Act. So migrant workers working in the social welfare industries are mostly not covered under the Taiwan Labor Standard Act. What does that mean? It means that they are excluded from the benefits of minimum wage, regulated hours, holidays entitlement, and also labor insurance. With this condition, their position is like a second-class citizen in Taiwan.
Right. Do you think that extends also to when it comes to Taiwan making plans in the event of a war with China? Is this large migrant population being excluded from those plans as well?
It could be. So far, I haven't heard any plan or evacuation plan if if the situation should deteriorate in the Taiwan Strait. First, these workers are not citizens in Taiwan. They are not Taiwan, and they are not part of Taiwan. They are migrants, so they really depend on the support or protection given by their home countries, either from Indonesia, Philippines, Thailand, or Vietnam. So when it comes in a future conflict in the Taiwan Strait, when it comes into evacuation plan, they will really depend on their government in their home countries. How then the governments in Jakarta, for example, or in Manila, protect them, evacuate them from the crisis or from the potential conflict. There's so far, of course, when it comes to evacuation plan, a country will prioritize its citizens, and these workers are not citizens in Taiwan, are not citizens of Taiwan, so they really depend on the protection from their own government, and their government do not have diplomatic relations with Taiwan. When they don't have diplomatic relations, it will cause a limited engagement. It will cause a limited direct communication between governments. And when it comes into evacuation plan, then you need a very clear plan and communication on how to evacuate them, in which point that they should go from their place in order to find a safe place for them to stay for a while waiting for the flights, for example, to come to save them.
We'll have to leave it there for the time being, but thank you so much for joining us today. Rati Kabinava from the University of Western Australia. Thank you so much.